This is America's Roundtable, a radio program from Washington, D.C., bringing together leaders from business, government, media, and the think tank arena. I am Anand Samy, your co-host, joined by Natasha Srdoc, an economist and co-founder of the International Leaders Summit. America's Roundtable is an initiative of the International Leaders Summit. It is great to have Maayan Hoffman join us from Jerusalem, the capital city of Israel. Maayan Hoffman is the news editor and head of online content and strategy for the Jerusalem Post. Thank you so much for joining us, Maayan.
Thank you for joining us today, Maayan.
Thank you for having me.
Maayan, can you kindly share with us what are the current developments with the spread of coronavirus in Israel?
Sure. Well, where we're holding today, as of this morning, according to the health ministry, we have just over 7,000 people who are now infected. And unfortunately, the last 2 days have been some of our most morbid. We have lost about 13 people in the last 2 days. We're at 39 victims of coronavirus. But in general, when you look at our report card, so to speak, what we can say is that the number of citizens being infected across most of the country is actually beginning to even out. We're starting to flatten that curve. We are seeing quite a number of incidents in some of our more ultra-Orthodox or Haredi neighborhoods, such as Bnei Brak or Mea Shearim, and that is having impact on the number of victims.
One of the early measures was to block incoming flights to Israel. Is that right?
Sure. So we actually started blocking flights right in the very beginning, actually, as early as the very beginning of March. We started with Japan and South Korea, China, of course, and then slowly started adding more and more countries to the list as we saw that infections were happening around the world. First in Europe, in Spain, Italy, those areas as well, and eventually even the entire world. It's not blocked in the sense that nobody can come in. We haven't closed our borders per se. We've closed them for people who can't isolate. Israeli citizens, if there are flights, can still return to the country, and the foreign ministry has made amazing efforts to actually go around. Just this morning, we had a flight come from Australia, bringing stranded Israelis from Australia and New Zealand, and we have been bringing the Israelis back home. If foreigners, people who don't have citizenship, want to come, they can choose to do so, but we have set up what we call coronavirus hotels, and that can accommodate a 14-day period of isolation just to ensure that the person does not come in with the virus, and then they're able to go about their business in the country.
Maayan, in your article published yesterday, you shared about a team of Israeli researchers who say that they are days away from completing the production of the active component of a coronavirus vaccine that could be tested on humans as early as June 1.
Sure, I would be happy to. This is the second article actually written about the company. It was really quite exciting because when for this particular research team, it's actually a government-funded research team working at the Migal Institute, which is called the Galilee Research Institute. It's up north. And they have been working actually for the last 4 or 5 years on a vaccine for the bird coronavirus, for the bird flu. And they had successfully managed to come up with this vaccine and also the biotechnology behind how to administer it and help to save the birds. When it came out that the coronavirus was starting to happen around the world and infect humans around the world, it's a different coronavirus, of course. But once China was able to give out the DNA, the makeup of the virus, the company looked at it, saw that the protein makeup was very similar, and immediately started to say, can we translate what we've done for the bird flu to create a vaccine for treating, stopping the spread of the novel coronavirus that we have today. They thought that they would be able to do it very quickly. They had originally thought 3 weeks back then, and that was in the end of February. It's taken them a little bit longer because they needed some information from China that took some time to get here because of the challenge of the borders being closed and, there being less flights. But they have gotten that information, and they say they are days away. Now, what this means is not that we're going to have a vaccine, unfortunately, for the whole world immediately. In a few days, when they finish what they call the active component, the protein, what the core of the vaccine, they will then have to, of course, get it through a regulatory process and make sure that humans can take it. The country already, our Ministry of Science and Technology, has already promised to fast-track the vaccine here in Israel, meaning that it would first be available and tested on people in Israel, first healthy people, and then, of course, the general population. And they believe that that will happen by June 1st because it is an oral vaccine. It's not an injection, which means that it's treated more like a combination of pharma and food. So the regulations are easier to get through.
It is exciting to hear about the development of the oral coronavirus vaccine in Israel. Thank you, Maayan, for joining us today from Jerusalem.
Thank you.
Maayan Hoffman is the news editor and head of online content and strategy for the Jerusalem Post.
This is America's Roundtable, a radio program from Washington, D.C., bringing together leaders from business, government, media, and the think tank arena. I am Anand Samy, your co-host, joined by Natasha Srdoc, an economist and co-founder of the International Leaders Summit. America's Roundtable is an initiative of the International Leaders Summit.